Notice of this board meeting was given to all board members and associates in a meeting notice dated December 12th, 2022. Furthermore, on that date, a copy of such notice was sent to the Times, their Chantonian, and the clerk of the Township of Hamilton. It was also posted on the bulletin board at the entrance to the boardroom in the Hamilton Square Administrative Building. Please rise for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Ms. Harvey? Here. Mr. Kanka?
Here.
Ms. Kelly?
Here.
Dr. McSheen?
Here.
Ms. Thornton?
Here.
Mr. Salantano?
Here.
Dr. Farrar?
Here.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Here.
Lombardo?
Here.
Motion passes. Quorum. We have a quorum.
We're all here. Can I get a motion to enter into the deck?
So moved.
Ms. Thornton?
Whereas NJSA 10:4-13 requires adoption of a resolution of the board to go into executive session, be it resolved that the board pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, New Jersey, Title 18A, and the Hamilton Township Board of Education bylaw number 0166 hereby enters executive session to discuss a matter involving human resource matters. Be it further resolved that the minutes of this executive session shall be made public following formal action by the board and/or at the conclusion of any investigation, due process, proceeding, or litigation, so long as not prohibited by law and so long as the need for maintaining confidentiality no longer exists.
What's the problem?
Hold on, we gotta go to executive.
Huh?
We need a non-roll call vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes.
Hold on.
Let me get my student. Okay, good evening. The students first.
Yep.
Okay, first, we're gonna have our student rep reports. We'll have Tori from Nottingham High School.
Hi, so here are some of the things that have been happening at Nottingham since the last board meeting. Play practices have started for the winter musical Percy Jackson, the Lightning Thief. December 1st was our academic awards for sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Sophomores and juniors had a ceremony throughout the school day, and seniors had their ceremony at 6. It was a great night, and congratulations to all these students. December 3rd was our junior senior social at Cooper's Riverview. It was a great and fun night. The National Honor Society participated in a holiday toy drive for a Christmas store at Central Church in Ewing. Also, winter sports have officially started. Boys varsity basketball won against Allentown on December 16th, 66-45. They also won last night at Westminster North, 68-53. They will have their first home game of the season at Nottingham tomorrow, Thursday, December 22nd at 5:30 against the Hamilton West Hornets. Swim also has a meet tomorrow, Thursday at 4 at Nottingham against Notre Dame. Candygrams are being sold during the lunch periods if any students would like to purchase. Our Spirit Week is also being held this week. Monday was Zoom day, so pajama pants on the bottom, professional on the top. Tuesday was student teacher swap day. Wednesday was just like the first letter of your name. Thursday is onesie day, and Friday is class color day. Seniors wear tie-dye, juniors wear white, sophomores wear red, freshmen wear green, and faculty wear holiday apparel. Faculty has also been decorating their doors festively this whole week, and a Google form has been sent out to vote for the best doors. We have our winter pep rally on Friday to send off our students into 2023. And finally, on behalf of the Nottingham student body, I would like to congratulate and recognize our teacher of the year, Mrs. Kleck, and our educational support person of the year, Ms. Setzer. We thank them for all that they have done for Nottingham High School.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay, next, let's go with Aaron from Steiner High School.
Hello, so these are a few updates from Steiner from our last board meeting, starting with our club and activities fair that is going to be held on 12/23. Our winter seasons have started already, including track, basketball, swimming is some of our popular ones. Seniors did win Spirit Week. It was a very competitive race between the juniors and seniors, and even faculty, they did a great job. We had a BSU holiday potluck for the Black Student Union. Over 50 students did attend that. And we also had a gingerbread house competition with Mrs. Gore's class as our only cooking class in the building. We had an instrumental concert on December 14th, and our next vocal concert is actually tonight. If any of you want to stop by, I don't know if it's over yet, sorry. We did decorate the hallway and the lobbies. If you did want to, I don't know if you can walk around Steiner, but they did a great job painting the doors and the windows. A lot of penguins on there. It's very pretty. We did have our academic award ceremony for seniors that was held at, I believe, 7 p.m. Over 550 students received one, and we had a bagel breakfast for I think it was sophomores through seniors that got bagels. We did have a wrestling match, and our school won over Nottingham and West. Sorry, ladies, we did win. Girls swimming did beat Nottingham as well. It was very competitive from what I saw, a lot of cheering, a lot of screaming. They did a great job though on both sides. We do have a festive outfit day on December 23rd, and we are starting our after prom fundraisers. We are looking at right now was Funplex, but we are not sure right now due to the expenses, but we are trying our best, and that is all.
Thank you. Zaria? Oh, sure, Patrick.
You're good, you're good. Hello, everyone. Since we last met, Hamilton West had their Thanksgiving game against Steiner on Thanksgiving morning, where Steiner did sadly win. We had our National Honor Society induction ceremony on December 7th, sorry. We had our door decorating contest happen this week. I'm pretty sure room number 3 had one. We also have Spirit Week happening this week, all just different winter themed days. Hamilton West PTA hosted a lunch with Santa for kids on December 17th. And then we have our vocal concert happening today at Hamilton West at 7 p.m. And then upcoming, we have our winter instrumental concert on the 18th of January. And then we are also getting ready for 8th grade orientation to happen sometime in January or February.
Thank you. Our superintendent report?
Thank you, ladies. And I'm beginning to feel a little rivalry going on back and forth here as these
Yeah.
reports go on each month. So
Now you're getting
keep
in
it
the
up.
spirit.
Very good, very good.
We'll have the basketball game report.
Yeah, it's
next
gonna
month,
be
right?
tough. Unfortunately, I need to start my report with a difficult message. On December 11th, our district lost a member of our administrative team. Betty Bright passed away after a long and courageous fight against cancer. For those of us who knew Betty, you realize she would not want this spotlight on her for this reason. She would tell you it's going to be okay. It was clear from our experiences with Betty and the many who reminisced at her funeral that she had a positive impact on so many. To continue this positive impact, my senior staff and I will be establishing a scholarship fund in Betty's name. It's hard to transition from this topic, but I'm going to ask everybody at this moment, if you would please join me in a moment of silence for Betty. Thank you. And as I said a minute ago, it's hard to transition from this item to another topic, but if you knew Betty, she would tell you, you need to move on, and that would be Betty. On another topic, our school district now has a food service app called My School Bucks. The image of the app is shown on the community update today. It's a blue image. This app easily allows you to connect your children or your child to their school and then pay for school meals, track your lunch amount, and more. I personally have downloaded this app and connected it to my own son and his school. It is easy to set up and it only takes a couple minutes, and it's available in the Google and App stores on your phones. On Friday, December 23rd, our district will have a one-session day. And what that means is that our students will dismiss early from school. Please be aware of the times of early dismissal of when your child or children will be coming home or getting off their bus. Dismissal times are as follows: high school, 12:04 p.m., middle school, 12:45 p.m., elementary schools, 1:15 p.m. Winter break for all of our students and HTSD will be from Saturday, December 24th through Monday, January 2nd. During winter break, all schools and offices will be closed. Our high schools will only be open for practices and sporting events. All offices will reopen on Tuesday, January 3rd, 2023. That brings me to the next topic based on what's going to happen over the next 2 days. Winter weather announcements. In the event of inclement weather, we will notify the school community of delayed openings, early closings, and snow days through a variety of methods. HTSD will use all of our social media platforms, the district website, our robocall system, and post information on our local TV station. Each month, I meet with groups of principals who are focused on 3 goals: attendance, behavior, and academics. Our principals and their faculty and staff are focused on these 3 areas to address the needs of our students in the post-pandemic educational arena. There are many changes our students face in these 3 areas, and the effort to bring us back will take time. But I can say that every school and every faculty and staff member and every administrator in this district are committed to work and do what it takes to move us forward over the next couple of years. We should not be surprised by the fact that there's work to be done in these 3 areas. But what we should be doing is working together to address these areas. HTSD is doing so, and we will continue to do so into the future. I'd also like to congratulate our teachers and ESPs of the year and the recipients of each school. In our community update, I've listed the teachers and ESPs of the year. It's also on our website. We will, in the near future, we will actually have something, and we're going to split it up over a couple of board meeting nights because there are 24 teachers and there are 24 ESPs. So we want to make sure that they each get an opportunity to be recognized. I just have two final items, and this one's going to take a minute. So tonight marks the end of an era. For 9 years, starting in 2014, Mrs. Pam Kelly has been a member of the Hamilton Township Board of Education. During this time, she has served as its president in 2017 and vice president from 2018 to 2021. During this time, she has served on a number of committees, including the Personnel Committee, Negotiations Committee, and DCR. Mrs. Kelly has always put the focus on what is best for our students, faculty, and staff. She has been a consistent advocate for ensuring our students have what they need to be successful, and she has worked to bring together various groups, organizations, and individuals for the betterment of our school community. Pam, I'd like to thank you for your unwavering service, professionalism, and dedication to the Hamilton Township School District. I wish you well in the future and all of your future endeavors. And as a little token of appreciation, we have a plaque that will represent your time and service here in the district.
I'd just like to say, I started about 6 months, I guess, after Pam, I was appointed, and we've been together up and down, and I consider her a dear friend of mine. And I think we're proof that you don't always have to believe in the same things or think alike, but when it comes to the Board of Education, you come together and can do great things, and you're going to be greatly missed, and all of your experience and your dedication. And I know you've been with me this whole time, so it's going to be different not seeing you every month and talking to you on the phone, but I'll be seeing you in Wildwood right at your tiki bar. So
Thank you,
thank you
everybody.
for all you did.
Yeah, thanks. It's been an honor. I really have been pleased to be able to have this opportunity to share and as part of the board and get to know all of the folks in the district and the other board members. It's been great. And like Ms. Lombardo just said, I think that's one of our strengths as our board, is that we can talk things out, we can disagree, but we can also come together and remember that we're all here for the students. It's not at all about us. So thank you, everybody, for your support. And I'll always be a friend of the Hamilton Township School Boards. And although I changed my primary residence to Wildwood, I still have a house in Hamilton, so I'll still be around. So thank you again.
Thank you. And my final item is a final seasonal item. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Joyous Kwanzaa, and a very happy New Year to everyone at HTSD. We've been through a lot over the last year, ups and downs, successes and struggles, and I'm hoping the year is filled with many more successes and ups than downs or struggles. So have a great holiday season with your families.
Thank you. Okay, do any board members have anything they'd like to? Ms. Harvey?
I am the Mercer rep to the New Jersey School Boards Association Mercer Committee. So we had our meeting on December 2nd, and it was a very joyous occasion for our district because our school actually won an award thanks to Dr. Farrar submitting paperwork for the Grice Gladiator Cafe. So Dr. Rocco and Dr. Farrar accepted the award on our behalf. In addition, at the meeting, we learned about a program that we'd like to try to bring back to our district. It's Girls on the Run, which is a program to build women and girls' self-confidence through running. And there are grant opportunities available that we're investigating. So that was a good program. By attending this meeting, we're able to bring it back to our district and hopefully help girls who are in both middle school and high school with a great activity.
Thank you. Any other board members? Any board announcements? Good.
I just wanted to say that Dr. Ferrara and I and Ms. Atwood, Mr. Carrig and Mike, I don't know Mike's last name from your office. Oh, okay. We're all had the honor of being,
Go ahead. Never mind. Go ahead.
had the honor to be at an awards dinner for Building One New Jersey, Building One America this past week, where Dr. Rocco was honored as their Public Servant of the Year. If you don't know Building One New Jersey or Building One America, they are a coalition working to fight for equity within all aspects of schools and communities so that everyone has the opportunity for a good education and economic opportunities also. So it was really great to see that Dr. Rocco was recognized as the Public Servant of the Year. So well deserved, and thanks for all you did.
I just have one quick one. I was at Grice today, that went to visit some of the history classrooms that did some of their family tree projects. And I remember my daughter was there. I don't know how many years ago that was, 9. But the way they've just come so full, like so diverse. They were from all over the world. It was really amazing to see. And I really wanted to go Friday. Since I work, I never get to the Gladiator Cafe. And when I was told they won't be open on Friday, I definitely wanted to get there. So I went and looked at all those projects. It was pretty amazing. These kids, one of them even did it out of wood like a carpenter. It was pretty amazing to see the effort that they put into these and where these kids came from and what a diverse community we have over there. It was really, really nice, really something to see.
Did you get to see the mural in the gymnasium?
Yes, I did. They walked me
Beautiful,
through
isn't it?
there and actually, you know, you look at it at first, it's a mural, and then you look at it, I'm like, wow, it says Grice.
Yeah.
Like, it's really neat. I remember the first one they did in that main hallway. And then there was another one down in the history hallway. That was the first time I saw that one too, but actually one of the history teachers walked me down there because I saw a picture of it.
Yeah, it was
I guess
online.
somebody put it online, but you have to, anybody that can get there for anything, just even if you want to pop in to see that, especially us board members, you have to go see this mural on the gym. I think on Saturdays they play basketball there, so you can even just pop in and look at it then. It's amazing how they did this. And it says Grice after you look at it, you can tell it's pictures of faces, but the word Grice pops out at you once you know that the word Grice is there.
It was
So it
actually
was amazing.
one artist with a spray can, with
Yep.
spray cans of paint. It's truly amazing.
So that was super nice to see. Other than that, I guess we're moving on to our
Presentation.
2021 state assessment scores presentation. Mr.
It's
Scotto?
it's going to be projected here for the board, so those of us who are sitting may want to move over. Good evening, Mrs. Lombardo, Dr. Rocco, members of the board, members of the administration, members of the public. I'm here this evening to present our assessment results for the Board of Education. A copy of this is also located in the board library for you. Before I present the scores, a lot has been going on in the education of our students across this nation, across this world. And I thought I'd take a moment to talk about the fact that in addition to students not having the opportunity to take state assessments for a few years due to COVID-19, it would be important for us to take a moment to see and think about where were our students in March of 2020. I'll highlight a couple grade levels and not read everything that's on the screen. Also, a copy of this presentation will also be on our website tomorrow. Our current seniors were just entering high school. They were in 9th grade in March of 2020. Our current freshmen now were just starting middle school. That's 6th grade in our district. Our current 6th grade students that just started middle school this year were in 3rd grade.
Our current fourth grade, and that really stands out for me because I am the dad of a fourth grader. Those kids were in first grade. My son was the emergent reader. My son was still very dependent on the teacher. My son was still learning about what it's like to be in school because he was only in kindergarten the year prior. And these last three are kind of interesting, right? So our current second grade, they were in pre-K or they were home. First grade, pre-K, maybe, or home. Current kindergarten class this year, we're home. So as I present this data today, I think it's important that we see where we are, not necessarily where we were, but where we are. In the presentation this evening, I will show you math and ELA data from spring testing called the New Jersey Student Learning Assessments. 2 years prior to this past spring, New Jersey canceled those tests. So our students had not taken state assessments in a few years. Our district has done and made a commitment to providing all students at the high school level with PSAT testing. So I want to show you that data from our fall administration. We've come a long way in terms of our equity and our access to advanced placement and AP scores, AP testing. So I'll show you how the kids did last May. And as a teacher, you always look at the data, and the staff have heard this from me for almost 6 years, as blood work. And what is the blood work telling you? And what do you need to do more of? Or what do you need to do less of in order to move forward? And sometimes when you look at data and take it out of the academic context and look at it as blood results, the blood results will show things, and you can start to look at factors that may have impacted that or not. And I would think we all agree that some of those previous slides I showed you and where those kids were could very well be one of the factors or things to consider. And the other thing I want to point out is before COVID, I would stand before all of you every year and present our test scores and our results. And we were always just under the state average. We're there again. We have a long way to go. We have work to do. We have improvements that we need to strive for and work harder for. But for Hamilton Township, I can only speak for our district, we are back to where our performance was prior to COVID. If you're not familiar with the NJSLA testing, there are 5 levels of scoring. I just wanted to kind of orient all of you to that. 5 is the highest that you could score on that test, meaning that you have exceeded the state's expectations of the content that's been assessed, and the lowest being a 1. The highest score that you can earn on the test is about an 850, and that varies slightly by grade, by test, but pretty much that's the highest score that you can earn. And I share this with you because the format of the slides that I'll be presenting throughout this presentation will have columns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it will represent the percent of students in that grade that scored a 1 through 5. On another slide, if you see a number like a 750 or a 729 or a 719, that is out of 850. So I'll make sure the first slide, I really take the time to unpack. So let's take a look at how our kids did last year in grades 3 through 5 mathematics. So let me just take a minute and unpack the format of this slide presentation for you. As you read from left to right, for each row, you will see how Hamilton did against the state. So if you see 3 HTSD, that's third graders last year, they're now in 4th in our district, and then 3rd New Jersey. So just to unpack the first slide, if you see a 17, a 26, a 21, a 28, and a 7 from left to right, that represents the percent of students that scored those 5 categories. And the row right under it represents New Jersey. Now, I've been an administrator for a very long time, almost 20 years. And we used to also receive what was called district factor group data, DFG. We no longer receive that from the state, unfortunately. And sometimes that was good to look at it, to see Hamilton-like districts or other districts that were similar. The state does not give us that anymore. But I wanted you to have a benchmark so you could kind of compare how the state did, because the entire state has been managing COVID-19, not just Hamilton Township. So what you can see across this chart are third grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade in mathematics. And if you were to go down the columns, you would see some similarities in the percent scoring in those respective areas in the district as well as the state. Being a teacher, I like to show you other forms of data. So I thought you'd also want to see what the average score was on the math test. Remember, the highest is that 850. So our average score for third grade math was 733, New Jersey 745, and so on and so forth as you move through that slide. That's mathematics. Here's the same cohort of students on ELA. Now, if you're not familiar with the ELA portion of the test, students are reading and writing on that portion of the test. They are reading literary text, literature, and informational text, which would be facts. And they're also doing writing. And these have also what's called tech-enhanced questions. So a long time ago when I was in school at Holy Innocents and Neptune, we did not take tests similar to what our kids take today. We did a lot of bubbling, a lot of number 2 pencils. Remember those? You had to have a few extra and you were doing a lot of standardized tests. The format of our assessments for our children in this state are very different. They are tech enhanced. They have drag and drop. They have to scroll. They're typing, they're writing. So there's also a lot of technology that is embedded within the test. Being a one-to-one district, our students are at an advantage because there are a lot of different programs that we have adopted over the years that have tech-enhanced assessments, tech-enhanced programs and lessons. So here's our third grade through fifth grade ELA scores. And if you scan across from left to right, you could see how we did as a district against the state. And then if you go from top to bottom, particularly if you were to bring your eyes to the %3, you could see that we're almost the same as New Jersey in the students that scored that 3. Here's our average scores. 850 is the highest. There's Hamilton against New Jersey. So that's elementary school. Now let's take a look at middle school mathematics. What you will not see on this slide yet will be any accelerated math courses that we offer, because our students in our middle school, and we have a very robust math program in the district, many of them take high school content in middle school, and I'll show you that data in the next set of information. These are for students that are in 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade math, if they're not in Algebra 1 or geometry. So as you move across and move down, you could see the % of students that scored the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, and the 5. Very interesting to see in the final column on the right-hand side, across the state, not just the district, single digit. We know that math has taken a little bit of a hit in New Jersey. And if you've studied curriculum and instruction, I certainly have, right? That's my job. Math is a different type of skill than literacy. So if I have had interruptions in my learning, or I was not able to participate in hybrid or remote, or there was other factors going on at home, whether families could control them or not, math is the type of thing where if you are missing certain skills, those are skills that sometimes those gaps can follow you. So you could see, like I'm seeing on tutoring logs right now in the middle school, that students are still needing additional support in fractions, decimals, percents, multiplication, and division, because those students were in elementary school in March of 2020. That's why I thought that slide would be important. Here's our average scores against the state. 8th grade math is pretty much identical to the state. Let's take a look at middle school ELA. Now, we do have accelerated courses in our middle school program, but they're not taking high school English. They're taking either accelerated or non-accelerated ELA. So here's our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. What I thought was kind of interesting is, even if you were to look at the percent won, there are some similarities in terms of what our students scored against the state. We also know, as our teachers have shared with us, we know we did a great job with remote instruction, but writing was not an easy skill to teach in a hybrid remote situation. I'm a former English teacher, and there's a lot that we can do over the screen with reading comprehension. We can teach writing, but writing is one of those skills where you really need to be in the classroom. So we have taken a really hard look at all of our literacy, but particularly our writing, and what writing experiences can we give our kids more practice with. I read all of the tutoring logs that come into my office when teachers are signing off on tutoring. Thank goodness for our ESSER funds that we've received. And I am seeing that kids are staying after school to get extra help, not only with reading comprehension, but with essay writing, journal writing, writing assignments. Here's our average scores. You may be saying to yourself as you see this slide, how come there's no other grades for high school? New Jersey is famous for changing graduation assessment requirements all the time. Some years we've tested 10, 9, 10, 11. Some years we've tested just 11. Some years we've tested a variety of grades. And then this past year, we only tested grade 9. There's our scores. Here's an average score. We're keeping an eye on our high school students. We're keeping an eye on all of our students, but our high school students, to make sure that they are not at risk for not graduating. And the district has worked very hard to put together committees to focus on not just chronic absenteeism, but graduation rate, credit recovery, and opportunities for students. A lot of high school students are participating in high school tutoring, which I'm proud to tell you is a really good thing. About 3 years ago, we also implemented a double ELA English class for students that were coming out of middle school at risk and needing a little more seat time and support. So if I'm an 8th grade student and I'm struggling in ELA, I have 80 minutes of instruction, but then I was moving to the high school and that was cut in half and it was only 40 minutes. So this year we did have a larger number of kids in the double ELA class to get more support in reading and writing and things like that. Let's take a look at math. This data that you see up here represents not just high school, but any student in the middle school if they were enrolled in Algebra 1 or geometry. We do have some students that are very accelerated in mathematics and take high school content before graduating. Some of these students move right into Algebra 2 or Algebra 2 honors as freshmen. This represents, again, the percent of students scoring the 1, the 2, 3, 4, and 5. Interesting, again, that in that final column it is single digit, not just in our district, but across the state. Here's our average scores. Okay, so let's switch gears for a minute and talk about PSAT. Our district made a commitment a few years ago, and I thank the board for supporting this during the budget process, to have all students participate in the PSAT exam before graduating from high school in grades 9, in grade 10, and in grade 11. Now, some seniors over the last few years were also taking it if they needed a cut score. This year was a little different because graduation requirements for assessments were relaxed for the class of 2023. The PSAT is a great opportunity not only to see another measure of student performance, but to give kids the opportunity to participate in an SAT-like assessment prior to graduation. By the time they rise into 10th grade, perhaps they will also be what's called National Merit Scholarship. So sometimes that's why you'll see PSAT NMSQT, National Merit Scholar. And that's not an easy test, but kids can qualify and get scholarships. We also use that as a very important measure here in Hamilton Township as one of our measures to determine AP potential. So Hamilton scores are in the center column, and the states are on the final right. I thought you'd want to see that because those students were in this state those students were in those grades that I talked about at the beginning of the presentation. Last, AP, and I've always presented AP to the community and to the board. We, despite everything that's been going on the last few years, we administered over 900 AP exams last year. And while that may not necessarily be something on a score report, internally for Hamilton, that's amazing. In all three high schools, that kids are continuing to take college-level coursework while in high school. And we have opened those doors and opened those gates for those students. The highest score that you can get on an AP exam is a 5. Schools that look at AP will take a 3, 4, or higher, right? So I thought you'd want to see the number of exams. That's what those numbers represent. The number of exams that were scored a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5. So the 187, the 123, and the 64 is that 3 or higher. Despite all the interruptions in learning, over 40% of our students in the district scored a 3 or higher on the AP exam. That's pretty darn good. That's higher than actually we were in the past. So, and we have committed in this district to not only provide learning acceleration opportunities for students that are struggling, but also for students that are accelerated. So as I said to you, think of this as blood work. The doctor just gave you the blood work. What are you going to do now moving forward? We've done a lot of things in Hamilton that I just want to point out. And it's not just me, it's everyone in this room, this Board of Education, past board members, the community, and our instructional and support staff. We've added additional instructional staff for this year. We have a new K-2 reading program and a new high school English textbook series. We're in year 2 of our new middle school math and ELA series. They are harder textbooks than the past. I've heard that from many people, but there are many diagnostic tools built within those programs that are there to help the teachers, help the students that may be struggling. This year we started, I call it the senior class, Dr. Rocco, of the 4-year new teacher induction program. So we just opened up our 4th class. So over the last 4 years, we have spent extra time with our new hires. That is several hundred staff members. High quality professional development continues to be a priority in our district. Our director of guidance is continuing with a program that we had taking place in one of our middle schools with home visits. She's also looking to implement the Strengthening Families program. The board will see some of that information on tonight's agenda. In my last district, we had this program. It was outstanding. My office works very hard to push out monthly curricular newsletters to give staffs just quick PD and tips to help them each month. Dr. Ferrara this evening, when she gives a report, will let you know that we just released digital family resources. Mrs. Audino's office is piloting data teams with the New Jersey multi-tiered systems of support. We are benchmarking our students. And what do I mean by that? So we have the data that I've shared with you, but we also have our internal assessments, such as iReady and Link It. And we're taking a look at that data. We're ready to administer the second assessment, and we're hoping to see growth. One of the cohorts that we were very pleased with in the first round of benchmarking is the current first grade. And it took us all a little while to wonder why it was high. And then we said, well, wait a minute. They were not in school in March of 2020. They may have not had interruptions in their learning. They may have had other things going on at home. I know I did. We all did. But their education launching of it is different than students that are currently in middle school and high school. So we were pleased to see our benchmark results of our current first grade. Dr. Rocco mentioned in his superintendent's report, he has monthly principal goal meetings with the principals to talk about data, to talk about academic achievement. This district has prioritized with use of ESSER funds, fall, winter, spring, and summer tutoring and academic intervention. Every school has a pot of money that we give them with teachers that have been board approved to work with students before school, during the day, after the school day, and some even virtually and on weekends. We've run jumpstart programs in our title buildings into kindergarten. We've run our Jump Start to Algebra 1 program for our 8th graders coming out of middle school that are academically at risk. And we've also successfully run over the last few years Jump Start to Advanced Placement. We've had pop-up schoolhouses. And that's just to capture some of the things that we have done because we have hope. We know that there's a lot of work to be done, but we also have hope in the work that people are doing that we will continue to do a good job and provide the best for our students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Okay, next, we're going to move to our board committee reports. Mr. Kanka, can you bring us through facilities and operations?
The Finance and Operations Committee met on December 14th at 8:30 in the morning. I'd like to thank Mr. Salentano and Mrs. Harvey for being there and the senior staff that was in attendance. The very first item that was discussed was the communications with Dr. Rocco. He had some very brief comments on a few items, and then he introduced Mr. Scotto to go over some the latest draft of a continuing conversation on the health and PE standards that we have been going over for the last 6 or 7 months. And Mr. Scotto took some more of our comments and was going to apply them to some of the standards that have been written for 2020 and present us with a draft of those comments after he met with the other 2 committees. I would like to thank Dr. Ferrara for attending that discussion. And we saw the draft of what was presented previously by the other committees from the board. And there was a couple of changes that we wanted to see to take place. And Mr. Scotto said that he would do that, and hopefully we'll have something hopefully after the reorganization of the board after the first of the year. And we moved on to some initiative items, and I would like to thank Mr. Scotto for that presentation wherever he's at. We moved on to some initiative items such as the budget calendar. There was Mrs. Atwood provided us with, I'll hold it up, but a copy of the calendar and the entire budget process that the administration has to go through. It's just loaded with a bunch of dates on there where specific items have to be in place with administration meeting with staff, putting together the wish list for each of the schools, and then that being turned into the financial office, and then they put together a budget that has to be, the preliminary budget is due to the State Department of Ed by March the 20th. And I did ask Mrs. Atwood to post a copy of the budget calendar online, which she said she would do after the first of the year. So it's made available to the public, and so the public knows exactly step by step what the administration has to do to get this thing over to the the New Jersey Department of Education. So, and then we moved on to some other initiative items. We talked briefly about the food service. We had we had been saying, we've been telling the public for months now that the most important thing that you have to realize is that there's no more free lunches and breakfast in the morning. We need the people to sign up for the program, and you never know who's eligible and who's not eligible. You have to sign up to find out if you're eligible for these programs. And we discussed the amount of balance that was carried over from last year, which was not a deficit, but money that's owed by the students, was in the neighborhood of about $38,000. And that deficit, or that money owed, has grown to over $130-some thousand right now within a 3-month period. And it could be people aren't signing up. People still think that they're getting free lunches and breakfast. That's why we have to keep on, preaching that you have to sign up. And if you have the resources, you have to put money on your child's card. Letters and emails have started going out when the negative balances reach over $15. And we're still encouraging the completion of those free and reduced applications. And I'm going to, bobtail, so to speak, on Dr. Rocco's comment about the new program, the online program, My School Bucks, which you can add money to that account. On a personal note, I do know that it works because my son has children in the district, and I called Mrs. Atwood because I was so excited that he actually did get an email or text message, I don't remember what it was, that my one grandson's balance had dropped down to like $10. And when my son got that, he went right back on there and he added money to the account. So I was glad that actually part of the system did work. And that's why I called her, because I was really excited about that. So it's something that has to be done. We have to try to reduce this $130-some thousand shortfall. Then we moved on to talking about the warranty issues on the Steiner roof. There's going to be some HVAC equipment installed on that roof, and the roof is under warranty, and we have to make sure that the warranty is not compromised when they cut into that roof to put this new equipment on. So so that's in the process right now of looking into who's going to do the warranty work, and will the new equipment affect the warranty. In my past time in my private sector, I do know that if a certain specific company put a roof on, say Ted's Roofing, put a roof on a school, that's who you call back in, because they're the ones that hold the warranty. That's who you call back in to do the cutting of the roof, so the warranty doesn't get compromised. Then there's on tonight's agenda, there's an additional cost of a change order for the North Domestic Water Project. This all came about when the walls were opened up, and there was some abatement issues that had to be taken care of, and that couldn't be seen either by the tunnels or the corridors. It was in between. And then when they opened those devices up, they found some other issues inside. So there's a motion tonight to pay those cost overages noted as a change order. Then we moved on to, I had requested an update on the Mercerville project with the installation of the all the units that were in there, all the wall units that were put in over the summer. And as of right now, it's just remaining control system items and demobilization within that school. Everything else appears to be in line. I do know that there's some electrical switchgear items that are still on back order, but it did not affect the installation of these particular items. And that's why they were able to move forward with that project. The electric switchgear components will be installed when they do finally come in. We touched briefly on the track and field update with the starting project is going to start with the West Field. And there's a soil conservation review and approval that's pending. There was some additional costs that were added to the project. It's called ball stopper sleeves for all three fields. And what that is since the fields are multi-purpose for field hockey, soccer, lacrosse, they have nets that go up across the field from one sideline to the other, say on the other side of the end zone from where the football field ends. And that's to prevent the ball or something traveling beyond, the length of the field. It keeps the ball contained within the field of play. So there was some sleeves had to be placed in the ground so they can hold the poles for those new nets that have to be put up. Then there was another discussion on the HEP building where that was it was a discussion between the township and the district where the building was given to the township or where we can house the HEP school. But there was a Green Acres attachment to that plan that has to be reinstituted, such as there was some playground equipment, tennis court, and some a couple basketball nets were taken out, and that was all done prior to the district occupying that facility. So I was in discussion with Mrs. Atwood about and she said to me that the township was going to be responsible for reinstalling that equipment, but we haven't really got any written confirmation from the township saying that it was just a verbal discussion at this time. So we're waiting for that confirmation that they will take care of that to reinstate the Green Acres portion of that particular property. Then we talked about the north baseball field, the options there. There's apparently there's some drainage issues on the field. It's been there for years. That runs from the pitcher's mound shortstop area over to the third base line. Come to find out there was some type of a slab or something that was underground, and with the addition of soil on top of soil, the drainage has become a problem over there. But we're too late into the season right now to address that 100%. So we're going to put that as a project that would be included in the 2024 budget. Other than that, that's really all we discussed. We never went into when our next meeting is going to be in January 2023. It's going to be, it'll have to wait until the committees are assigned after reorg. But I believe that's all I got for tonight. If any of my If any of the committee members have anything, I would like to hear from them.
Rich, I just want to double check and ensure that we're not voting on anything with regards to the HEP project tonight. Am I correct? That is not on the agenda.
No, it's not. No,
Okay.
nothing's on the agenda for that. Any board member have any questions? Dr. Machine?
Yeah, two questions. First question, they're both regarding the money owed by students and their families for the lunch programs. The first question is, based on the data, do we have a good understanding of whether or not the number of students is growing, the number of students who are going to this lunch debt is growing, or is it more that the population of students are taking on more of the debt that existed before?
I
That makes
don't,
sense.
I don't think we can put I'm not sure we're putting a finger on it. I just think that people are just unaware because for the last year, they were getting everything for free. And we're just trying to, corral everybody up, get them back on what it was 2 years ago, where you had to apply for those free and reduced lunches. I just think they're not aware.
Yeah.
But now with the new system that we got in place with letting people know, hopefully that'll make people more proactive. Because I know my family has been more proactive because of what has happened. And that's why I said, when I had mentioned to Mrs. Atwood that, my son actually got the message that he was behind it. Bang, he went right on there with his debit card and just, put more money on the account. So hopefully it'll filter down to the rest of the public and we'll start reducing that number back down. We'll probably know in the next month or so if it's starting to trend backwards.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
towards zero.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
I don't think we'll ever hit zero, but
We can try.
Well, hopefully,
It
won't,
but-
hopefully, we're hoping it doesn't increase.
Yeah, and that gets to my second question is what, if what's the obligation of the district to handle any of that deficit?
I'll let Mrs. Atwood answer that. We just handle it. We just absorb it, right?
Mhm.
Am I correct?
Well, eventually, we leave it actually as a receivable, money owed to us. We have, though, at the board has approved the last couple of years, student prior debt for students that then became free or reduced. We have passed and paid for that debt. But the Department of Agriculture does see it as the board's responsibility to eventually pay for it if it's what they consider to be uncollectible. So we're still trying to make it, trying to collect, as well as really trying to identify those folks that are eligible for the program. And then hopefully we'll follow our past practice
Yeah,
covering that.
super important that they sign up for that.
Yes.
'Cause helps everyone. All right. Thank you.
I mean, we're feeding thousands of kids a day, and to me, it's a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money for the amount of kids that we're feeding. And if we can get the more kids we can get on the free and reduced, it'll just alleviate that deficiency that we're experiencing right now. So we'll see.
So can I dovetail off of Dr. McSheen?
No,
Okay.
yes.
Can we identify these students? I mean, can we identify them right down to these kids can apply, and are we proactively trying to help them? Or do we know how many families actually can afford to pay and aren't paying? Can we parse it that closely?
I'm looking at Dr. Rocco, but I'll answer it. No, we don't know
That was good,
people's
yeah.
income levels, et cetera, but we
okay.
do work with the schools. My office works with the schools who do have a better understanding of students and needs. We look to try to get everybody to sign up. There are certain programs, if you're eligible for that, they get automatically free and reduced, but that's separate. But there isn't a way for, certainly not my office,
No.
to know who's eligible and who's not.
Okay.
See, a lot of people, they could be eligible, they just don't know it.
Hmm.
So if you just do the paperwork and it's online, it's very simple.
And I will add that we say free and reduced because that's the federal program, but in New Jersey, the state picks up the difference for the reduced. So technically, if you're free or reduced, everybody's free in New Jersey.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Is that good?
Anybody else
Anybody-
have any questions?
Okay.
Perfect.
Dr. Ferrari, other curriculum instruction?
Sure. Thank you, Mrs. Lombardo. Good evening, everyone. The Curriculum and Instruction Committee met on December 14th, and all three of us were present. We discussed a number of items. Mr. Scotto spoke to us about the state test scores, walking the committee through the results in preparation for this evening's presentation, which you've now all seen. The committee had the opportunity to review the 30 professional development workshops that the Office of Curriculum and Instruction will be offering January through March. And some of those offerings are repeats from November at the request of teachers and staff members who in November found themselves having to pick between two interesting workshops, which we're running at the same time. That document is in the board library for any members that want to review it. Digital family resources for November were sent to the committee, and families received the family newsletters and activity guides for pre-K, grades K-5, 6, 8, and 9, 12 through School Messenger. These resources are also posted on the Curriculum and Instruction webpage in both English and Spanish. Next, the committee learned that new this year, the New Jersey Motor Vehicle Commission has come into the current mode of 2022 and allowed students to take the general knowledge test online as opposed to using pencil and paper. HTSD tested 932 students, 356 at East, 301 at West, and 275 at North. The committee has reviewed policy 0131, which is bylaws, policies, and regulations. Currently, the policy, last revised in 2008, doesn't reflect that the district's policies are now online. So the policy says each board member and various staff members need to be given a manual. This policy also reads that each copy of the manual of bylaws and policies shall be numbered. A record of the placement of each manual shall be maintained by the Assistant Superintendent for Instructional Services. The committee wants the policy to reflect the fact that members and others have access to the electronic manual. The title of Assistant Superintendent for Instructional Services no longer exists. And the committee felt that the policy should also read that a hard copy of policies will be maintained on file in the James Stevenson Administrative Building. By linking the location to the building and not an administrative title, the need to revise the policy should be reduced. The policy will come before the board at our business meeting in January for a first read. Ms. Ferlato, the Director of Guidance, and the head guidance counselors from the high school have met with Mr. Scotto to begin the program of studies process for the 22-23 school year. Mr. Scotto will next meet with the curriculum supervisors. Ms. Ferlato will meet with the high school principals, the ones that do the preliminary scheduling, and examine the master schedules and try to coordinate times and offerings across the three buildings. So one of the reasons to do that is if we again find ourselves next year in having a problem finding some teachers and we need teachers to do an extra period, if the offerings align, then we can have people Zoom across the district to give instruction. Due to the increase in the number of students identified through our early intervention as being eligible for pre-K, Ms. Audino spoke to us about the need to open an additional classroom mid-year this year. So currently, the designated location is Klockner Elementary School. The board needs to approve this decision. It's motion 13 under finance and operations because we have to apply to the state to get an exemption about toileting facilities and other things. Finally, all three committees were able to engage in one final discussion this year's final discussion with Mr. Scotto about the 2020 comprehensive health and PE standards. In addition to discussing this with my committee colleagues, I was also in attendance with the Personnel Committee and the Finance and Operations Committee for these discussions. First, committee members asked that I relay to the public that we appreciated the feedback the community provided. Whether people came to meetings, emailed us, engaged with us on Facebook, or stopped one of us around Hamilton, the feedback certainly infused our discussions. I remind the community that the 2020 health and physical education standards, like all standards which underlie public education, are law. Everyone at this table has taken an oath to uphold the New Jersey Constitution and the laws of the state of New Jersey, and school boards have no power to eliminate standards. The 2020 health and physical education standards are outlined in a 66-page document. The family life standards are but a small portion of the document, and the committees all looked at that portion. Since 1981, the state of New Jersey has allowed parents to opt out their children from family life instruction. As part of the review of these standards, the Board of Education and the administration agreed to formalize the process of opting out and keep that documentation in Power School. Board members have reached an initial consensus about the standards so that Mr. Scotto can make a presentation at the board's January business meeting. Again, as the chair of the Curriculum and Instruction Committee, I'd like to thank the community for its participation and its patience. Do my colleagues have anything to add? Thank you, Mrs. Lombardo.
Go ahead, Ms. Harvey.
The way that it was presented at my committee is that this is not a final consensus and that we were told we still had time, and the three of us were very concerned that we didn't have time to review what was given to us. So we are still in the process.
I don't think you heard what I said. I said it was an initial consensus so that, no, I said initial consensus so that Mr. Scotto can present to us in January. We understand that your committee still has concerns. All three committees came to a consensus that allowed him to come in January to give us a presentation.
Wait a second.
real
I would
quick.
like to know what the other committee's concerns
say the
were
final
because
meeting,
we
but
were
I'm
told
sorry, Mrs.
everybody
Lombardo.
agreed.
I'm sorry.
So
What
I
did you say?
didn't know that your committee even had a concern after it was presented to
had
your
a-
initial
was-
meeting.
It was given to us right before the meeting, so we did
Oh,
not have time to
Thank you for
review it.
telling me that.
And I specifically said that I wanted to do my due diligence and have time to review it.
I
And
think
was
that is-
told I have that.
That's correct. And in the conversation was, is this the final? And the answer was no. We were going to go back at the next meeting, which was reported out. As Dr. Farrar said, the initial consensus was that Mr. Scotto had enough information to move forward to present to the committees in January so that then there could be a presentation in January at the Board of Education meeting. And I believe that is where we're at as a group. There
So
was no final finished document that will happen in discussion next in January when the committees meet one last time on this.
let me
Yes,
right.
clarify that.
So
At our next, wait 1 second, Dr.
Go ahead.
Farrar. I just want to clarify what Dr. Rockos just said. If so, what we were saying is that our next committee meetings, which will consist of one new board member, we will go over what we saw, and you'll have time to read them, discuss it. If we're then in agreement with what the initial consensus is, then we will continue on with the presentation in January. If we are not, that presentation will not happen in January until we're all in agreement that that presentation can happen.
That is
Is that good?
That was my understanding. Thank you.
Okay, is that what
I
your
think
understanding is with that committee over there? Mr. Gonzalez?
I think we should make clear to the public that whatever we present does not mean that's a finished product either.
Right,
Correct.
exactly.
Okay.
But I want the other board members that are not on the curriculum committee, because we weren't in the finance meeting. I only know what happened in personnel. That if we're not in agreement on what we feel comfortable with the initial presentation, whether that's the final one or not, we're not going to have that presentation in January, because I don't want something presented that I am totally against either. So.
Okay, Well, I don't think that was my understanding that we were going to have committee meetings again, but I don't have a problem
But we
with
have
that.
to because they just
That
said
was
they didn't
discussed at
understand
my
it.
committee. I said that there's a new board member and it'd be entirely unfair
Okay,
to
okay.
go forward without that new
And,
board.
and you know what? It's okay. I don't have a problem with that. The word final came with final meeting this year. Okay. That was our final meeting. If you all want an additional meeting in January, does your committee
Well,
want an
we
additional?
will have
meeting?
addition. What I'm saying is,
But I mean, do
we
you
all
want-
have a committee meeting in January, right?
right. Does
What-
personnel want to have a meeting?
I want to
also?
hear what finance committee's concerns are after
Okay.
they have time to review it, because from my understanding, and Ms. Thornton and Ms. Kelly, I just asked and I assumed finance and operations were okay with what we also saw.
No, we specifically asked for changes that we wanted to share
So,
with the other committees.
so then that's not my understanding.
Susan.
So I'm
Data,
totally
did we-
confused.
We moved our committee date up. Did we maybe have our meeting before they did? So
Yeah, but what they saw is what we saw. If they wanted changes on top of what we saw, then I really would like to have
Oh,
known
sure.
that.
I'm just saying that we may
Because I
not.
think you saw some of
may not
the
have known
slight
they-
cross outs and stuff like that, right?
Yes,
But if
and-
you have
and we
more questions on top
recommended
of that, I didn't know that. So that's a
clarification.
problem.
Yes.
So my suggestion, I got you, Mr. Santana, 1 second. My suggestion is at the next committee, we do what we did this committee and go over it again. And if personnel's still okay with it, we want to hear what finance has to say before Mr. Scotto comes out in public and presents something that we all assumed the rest of us were so even 90% agreeable with. Because from what I'm hearing, finance and operation, you had, well, what you were presented with, although you didn't get to read a lot of it, you still have questions, so you're not comfortable with even what you saw up until today.
I
Correct?
specifically recommended a change. And
Okay.
I also said that that was just at first glance because we had just been given it. So we wanted an opportunity to review
got
it.
it.
to make
Okay.
Sure there wasn't
Yep.
anything additional.
Thank you. And Mr. Salantano, you have, some-
This is an example of why when we have issues of this
we
magnitude,
need to have.
cannot deal
to do it together
like we
this
deal with committees right now, 3 and 3. And Ms. Harvey is correct. We got it at the last minute, if I could say that. And I think I was trying to go through it as we were having our meeting. This, in my opinion, calls for
We got ours a day ahead of
a
time.
meeting of the whole. That's what this calls for, not you three, and us 3. Okay, because things get lost in the translation, as I can tell from this conversation right now. So my suggestion would be if anything comes up of this magnitude, and we do know it's important because we've had the friend and foe come to the microphone and discuss whatever
Right.
they think we're going to do. So I think if we're all in the same room at the same time discussing the issue at hand, the questions that are coming from Richard, Christina, Liam, Jason, the rest of us, will all get the same question at the same time and we'll be
Right.
able to understand it.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Mr. Kenka, did you have something to add to about your committee and the review of the,
Well,
before the presentation?
well, like Mrs. Harvey said, I appreciated everybody on all the information that we had received. But actually, Mrs. Harvey must have did a speed reading deal on this whole thing because we literally received, hours before. And I really didn't even realize it was on the
Okay.
agenda. Or I mean,
Okay.
it was in board docs until Mrs. Harvey brought it up and then I brought it up on board docs. There was just, I think there was only one item that she had questioned on that thing, about some verbiage that was in the,
And she's saying that's just for quickly reading it.
and that was just through a quick reading, but she reiterated that, we wanted to have more time to literally go through every
So-
single word that was in there.
Right now, every board member has a copy of the proposed first round of changes
Right.
that we could or could not agree on.
Mrs.
except
Lombardo?
for
Mrs. Lombardo?
Mrs. Burns.
I think
And so she'll be sworn in on January 4th, and we'll make sure she gets a copy before whatever committee she gets put on. If we all are okay with what we review and are comfortable with a preliminary presentation, so this community can finally see what we've been at least looking at and we're close to. Because remember, this won't be, it'll be adopted, but not for this school year, because we're still going to keep the one we have this school year, won't be implemented till next school year. So whatever you see won't start in January anyway. If we're okay with that, we'll move forward in January. If not, we'll still have another time to discuss it all again. And Mr. Scotto will be able to do it in February. Mr. Scotto, you had something to add?
Yes, I just wanted to let the board president know and the superintendent that the board library was updated after the committee meetings. And I have noted in the board library for the board, the pages where additional information was added.
Right.
So if anyone wants to take a look at that, and that was a result of a committee that met after personnel. There was also 2 other requests to add links to the board library, and those have been added as well.
I think what we're saying is they're not prepared to make 100% backing on you doing a presentation yet until they have their questions, whatever they may be answered, but I think we're narrowed it down to those certain pages. I don't know if you have to read the whole, it's 20 some pages where the markings are. Yes. go
So
ahead.
I just want to clarify so that we're all clear, public and board and administration. The presentation that happened in December and initiatives was to give an opportunity to talk about items that the public and the board have expressed concerns about and how those could be handled. Okay, whether those were positive comments, negative comments, indifferent comments, and how they could be handled. There was no decision at the initiative meetings or intention at those meetings to lock anybody in, as was discussed in the Finance and Operations Committee. The purpose of those meetings were to get to a point so we could prepare for a presentation tentatively scheduled for January. Prior to that presentation in January, the board initiatives committees would take another swing at this and make comment based on comments in December, the comments that are in the board library at this time, and anything else that comes up between that meeting and the next meeting. All that will do, and I want to be clear to the public, I want to be clear to the board and everybody else, all that will do is if that goes forward and it's presented in January, is it will green light our district to begin writing curriculum. Then, once the curriculum is written, that will then be what the board approves. Okay, so what we are clarifying is the standards that will be set in place to write the curriculum. And basically, the conversation among the public and among the board have revolved around the parenthetical aspect of those standards. So there was, and you're right, Ms. Harvey, and thank you for clarifying. Nobody was locked in at that meeting. It was, let's get feedback, let's talk. Each committee got an opportunity to look at it, but there was enough of an agreement among the committees or consensus that these are areas that we want to explore to make sure that those areas are addressed when we come back in January. And I don't want to speak for you, Dr. Farrar, but I believe that's the agreement in general of where we were at the time.
I was just trying to, and Dr. Scotto, Mr. Scotto, thank you for saying, I understand the comments that were in there, but what I'm hearing from their committee is they don't even know what more comments they have because they need to read it more than they did in their committee. So I want to make sure they get to verbalize that to one of the current curriculum committee members. And then at least if we're in consensus that this is what it may or may not look like, or look, we're all in consensus that this part we're not good with, or this part we are, when that presentation goes, we all would have saw what we all saw
So here,
and read it, because if they didn't read it yet, I read it, so I know what our committee said, but you didn't read it, so you didn't say anything, so we don't know what
if I
it
may,
says yet.
Madam President. I understand what you're saying, but what seems to be happening is that you hear a version. We hear a similar or the same version. They have their when I say they, I don't mean to point to you three people at one. I just happen to pick out three groups here. Curriculum has its version. But what if Mrs. Harvey and you and let's take Liam out as an example, these three folks, they have a little bit different idea on how they want to approach something. I don't know that. You don't know that, okay? And the same thing with our committee. We make decisions and I keep saying, why isn't somebody asking questions about what we are proposing? I don't think I or any board member or any group on this board as a separate entity, and that's what we've become, should be able to dictate what the item should be to be approved. Okay, I want to ask as many questions as I have, because I used to have a motto, question everything. And I might have to get back to that and do it a lot more often, but it's just something missing here. Okay, and it goes back to my original statement tonight. An issue of this magnitude that has brought out the best and the worst of this community, okay, I think needs to be discussed as a whole, not in separate pockets.
Yeah.
You may disagree with me, but that's.
Yeah, I know nothing ever comes out of our committee that's, it usually gets shot down before it ever comes out, so nobody ever hears it anyway. But
Well,
I think the committee reports, we have to, and no disrespect to anybody that's been given them, but we need to discuss them at a separate time, not now, on what gets reported out, because there's been months in a row now where the report itself has gotten misinterpreted by the person reading it. And I think that's probably what happened tonight. It's not really what Dr. Farrar was saying. It was how it's interpreted by Ms. Harvey tonight. Last time it was by me when she thought the presentation was going to be in December. And we just talked about it 5 minutes before it was said that it wasn't going to be in December. So, you know, the board attorney has to talk to the new chairs or the chairs that are staying the chairs, how your reports have to go, because we can't report stuff like we have been and turn into this big conversation when it wouldn't have turned out that way if certain things weren't reported a certain way. So I'm just using that one as an example. Go ahead, Mr. Kanka.
When I.
I mean, we're
read-
going,
when
we
I-
gotta move
when I
on, but
looked over the document, I was under the assumption that the changes that were in that document were changes based on what the entire board committee process presented to Mr. Scotto. When we received the document at the last initiatives meeting, Mrs. Harvey pointed out there was one or two items in there that she had questioned and presented those changes to Mr. Scotto. And Mr. Scotto said he would initiate those changes and put it on board docs, which
right, he said he did.
and I'm assuming he's already done.
Right.
So
But you guys stated that you had more questions that weren't there yet because you didn't review it all yet.
excuse me.
Ms. Harvey said she had more questions, but she wasn't able to verbalize them yet because she didn't get to read it all yet.
So I'm assuming that if somebody read the original document in the other committees, they're going to see that there's
Your
been a
comments
change
in board docs, yep.
on board docs.
Mhm.
And that I don't know what changes came from elsewhere, but I know of the ones that are coming from this committee.
Well, that's what Mr. Scotto just clarified. Anything that came from your committee as of that night, it
Yes.
was on board docs, but what Ms.
Correct.
Harvey made clear was your committee members weren't able to read the whole thing in entirety
That's
and
correct.
could have more comments.
Yes,
So she wanted to wait to make sure those comments got back to the curriculum committee one more time before a presentation was made.
correct.
Because the only comments we saw in board docs were whatever you made. Now, I can only speak for myself and the personnel committee. I'm going to go with what Dr. Rocco said. It was, everything in red was the stuff that this board, some board members and the community have
That's correct.
had concerns with. And our committee were, pretty much 90% okay with all of the red that was crossed out. And we didn't have many comments compared to what you may have when you're done reading the whole
And you'll
thing.
see those comments.
So again, this whole thing got misinterpreted.
Right. You'll
But
see
the
those
base bottom
comments.
line is your committee is asking to read it further because you need more time, which is fair. And we're just saying the next committee round is a week before the board meeting. And if you have no more comments, then we should be ready to go to present it the way we all saw it
I think we're real close.
as a tentative
We're real close.
with Ms. Harvey's comment. If it's not,
Agreed.
and we're way far off, we're gonna have to wait. Now, also, we have, Ms. Burns is gonna be able to look at it, and I'm gonna just go out on a limb here saying I think she might be okay with having the presentation in January when she sees all the red that's on there also.
A lot of red.
I just also want to say that Mr. Scotto, after having the initiatives meetings with all three committees, had it updated by December 15th for the board. So it is in board docs as of December 15th with all of the comments, any comments made by any committees, so that the purpose being that each committee could see if there was any discussion that
Right.
prompted a change from the conversation in their committee.
And I think we're
which
going
then-
back to saying is they needed more time because they're
Correct.
saying they didn't
But
get
we
to read.
agreed to that on the,
And you may
14th
not
and
have any
13th.
comments. You could
Yeah.
be done.
There may not be any more.
right,
Okay.
right,
But if you have any between now and your next committee, shoot them over to
Mr. Scotto.
the curriculum committee and Mr. Scotto. And then they can put them up on board docs.
Correct.
Let their whole committee see it
Yep.
and Mr. Scotto, and then we'll go from there.
Oh, you're
Okay.
getting bombarded.
Okay, we good with that?
That's why I
one?
get the big bucks, Mr. Kanka.
Topic with a question though.
We need to do that, yeah. Okay, Ms. Kelly.
I have
Oh,
another
yeah.
question on curriculum.
Mhm.
So, after the presentation by Mr. Scotto, thank you very much. I just wanted to raise as potentially an issue for the curriculum committee to review in the future. It looks like if you look at the numbers, we are, aside from 3 categories, we're actually below the state average. Can the curriculum committee be reviewing what can be done to bring our numbers up to the state average? It looks like if you look at it, we're great on AP courses. But is it an issue that we are concentrating on helping the AP kids and then other kids are left failing? Because if you look at the spread of the ones, so needs improvement,
Right.
those numbers are above the state average. So that would be
Yeah.
that. And so I just want to.
Sure.
If we
So
can investigate.
in a second, I'm going to let Mr. Scotto answer that, but we are providing assistance to all levels of students. And every Monday, we talk in senior staff about ways we can help students. Most recent suggestion was, our teachers have been giving a lot of extra time and some of them are tired right now. So we have student teachers that are coming in, and if we could get them approved to do some tutoring, do some substituting in the buildings to assist and things like that, to bolster our numbers. But Mr. Scotto, you want to talk a little bit about what Ms. Harvey is asking?
I can certainly present to the CNI committee, and then if you presented to the full board, those benchmarks that I was referring to would be what we do once we see where the kids are. So think of the data that I've presented this evening as baseline. And then what we like to do is after the second benchmark assessment, see how the cohorts have grown. And so we will be doing our second round of benchmarking testing probably right after the winter recess. And that will be, I think, a great opportunity for me to bring that data to the board, to the CNI committee. Also, I think just to reiterate, the purpose of highlighting the AP scores was not to say that the district is only focusing on the accelerated learner. I think I know our district works very hard to support all the learners from kindergarten all the way to high school. I just wanted this to match similar data that I have been presenting over the last few years for the public and for the board. We know that we need to improve, but we also know that we have a variety of interventions already in place. I think about the hundreds of timesheets that I sign weekly that are showing the number of students that are attending for extra help across the entire district. I can also take that data and share that with the CNI committee and with the board. So you can see how many hours and how many students have participated in intervention in non-advanced college level courses.
Ms. Harvey, also every month, as Mr. Scotto had posted, I meet with groups of principals. So there are 6 groups, varying size from 3 principals to 5 principals and myself and Kevin Bobatich, who's our testing coordinator, data guru in the district. We both go to those meetings and we're constantly looking at data. But the question we all ask, everybody at the table, principals, myself and Kevin, are, okay, what's next? Now we know the data, what are we doing? So we talk about specific interventions for students that are struggling readers, 1, 2, 3 years behind. What are we doing? How are we managing that? How are we tracking their needs? So some of the other stuff that Mr. Scotto was talking about, it revolves around making connections with families, trying to get the families to connect with us so that they can further support the work at home that we're doing in school. So that's a lot of what we're talking about. And also, I would say, we're focused when Mr. Scotto presents the AP and the SATs or the PSATs, we're focused on all students with the PSATs because everybody's eligible to take it. And sometimes what we're finding is because everybody's now taking it, it's opening a door for a student that they didn't know could be opened for them, whether that's a 2-year school or a 4-year school, or opening something for trades or the military for them. I hope that answered your question.
Ms. Kelly?
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Lombardo. Personnel Committee met on December 15th. As with some of the other committees, Ms. Audina explained to us the need for a new preschool class due to early intervention needs and numbers rising. Ms. Atwood filled us in about the Green Acres issue with the HEP property. Mr. Scotto talked to our committee also about the health and PE standards. Dr. Altabello gave us an update on a residency, which was something that the committee had requested. Ms. Ferlato also talked about the master scheduling, and as Dr. Ferrara had said, about trying to make sure that offerings are similar in all of our high schools, and also that some of the schedules match up in case we ever do need to have students Zoom because of a problem providing a live instructor. Then for personnel, we also talked about 2 new job descriptions. So I don't know if anybody else has anything else for the personnel committee or any updates.
Nope, I think we covered it all.
Is that?
Ms. Thornton, did you?
No.
Okay.
All right, then I guess, Dr. McSheen, do you have anything? All right.
Yeah, just a quick DCR update. So we're not having a meeting in December, just because everyone's busy and there's a lot to do. But good news is that January 19th will be our first in-person meeting in a couple of years. So really excited about that. That's at Wilson at 5 p.m. So if you're interested in joining, come show up at the DCR meeting, January 19th, 5 p.m. at Wilson. Thank you.
His meeting. Mhm. But, okay, does anybody have any questions on the monthly suspension report, HIB report, or health report? Okay. Hearing of the public on agenda items. I don't think anybody was on that one, right? Okay, moving on, we'll move us to roll call items for curriculum instruction, Ms. Dr. Farrar.
Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, I move items 1 through 7.
Second.
Tony, have a second? Oh, you did. Okay.
Jason.
Anybody have any questions or comments on them? Miss Dr. McShane, go ahead.
Yeah.
For 4.
I'll just announce some of the generous donations that we'll be voting on. There's a lot of big ones this time, so very grateful. To Steiner, we have assorted high-end machinist tools valued at $5,000 from a Mr. John Reither or Rader. Very cool. And those look like they're like metalworking tools, I believe.
For applied technology courses, yes.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Materials processing courses.
Thank you. To West from the White Horse Hamilton 7-Eleven store on, I think it's on Broad, right? A courtyard outdoor classroom, which I had a question on because I'm not sure what that
It's at West.
is. It out?
It's the one that was highlighted in the news.
Oh.
Go ahead, ask your question so we could all hear it.
Well, I was gonna ask what that was, but I remember that being up on the.
What did you say it was?
It's the courtyard that was on the news program that
6.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's a value of $2,000. To Langtree from the Mercerville 7-Eleven store, a bunch of supplies and prizes for their Bulldog Fun Day and recess prizes, valued at $2,000. To Langtree Elementary from Patient First and a Mr. George Yanushik Jr. Equipment and locking storage containers for PE, and that is valued at $1,000. And the last one on the list tonight is to the district as a whole from our wonderful Township Police Department. Thank you, Hamilton Township Police Department, and the U.S. Marine Corps Toys for Tots program. So a bunch of toys for students and families who might need them this holiday season, valued at $3,500.
I'm going to dovetail because I think the public should know that through Donors Choose, we've now raised $100,334, funding 230 projects. It has been 875 donors, 23 schools served, and 23% of the funding has come from people out of state, but most of it's from the community. And we're grateful for that. Thank you.
And I bet a bunch of that's been during the matching period, which
Yeah.
is awesome.
Mhm.
It's great.
Oh, sorry, Ms. Martin, go ahead.
That's okay. I just wanted to also comment, thank you everyone so much for all the generous donations. It's really wonderful to see the donations on every month. I do have to abstain from item F, but I do want to thank the Hamilton Township Police Department and the United States Marine Corps Toys for Tots. Because I am conflicted out of HTPD, I do have to abstain, but I do want to thank them for their generosity and their service to our community.
People drop the toys off to that. Yeah. I was gonna say that I did buy the toy, she would have had the toy. But she's okay. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions on those? Okay, Ms. Atwood?
Ms. Harvey?
Yes to all except I abstain on number 4A.
Mr. Kanka?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Dr. Machine?
Yes.
Thornton?
Yes, abstain on 4F.
But it's good. It's
Mr. Salantano?
Yes, abstain on 4A.
Dr. Farrar?
Yes. Oh, wait, I need to abstain on, wait a minute. I guess it's 4A.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. Lombardo?
Yes.
Motion passes. Motion's passed.
Mr. Kanka, the roll call items, finance and operations. I think we have 13 of them.
As per recommendation of superintendent, I move finance and operation motions 1 through 13.
Second.
Anybody have any questions or comments on those? Go ahead, Ms. Howard.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Kanka?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Dr. McSheen?
Yes.
Thornton?
Yes, I need to abstain on motion 10, page 7, line 6 and 7, and page 30, line 6 through 8. Yes, on all others,
6 through 8.
6 through 8.
Mr. Salantano?
Yes.
Dr. Farrar?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. Lombardo?
Yes,
Motion's passed.
personnel, but do we have to make a change to this one or?
We have to have a motion and a second, then I think we have to have a motion to amend.
Table and something?
Table, yeah. Do we have to motion it first and then table it? I gotta find it. Dr. Copeland, do you know which item we're going to? We got it here. B2,
7.
motion 7B2.
Okay, so Pam, we're gonna move it, get a second, and then we're gonna do the next step.
Okay, so should I make a motion that we table item
No,
under
wait.
personnel?
No, move them all,
Move them all.
get a second, and then we're gonna do the next step.
Oh, okay, so first do a motion, okay.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent that we move items 1 through 16 in the personnel section of the agenda.
Second,
Now, what's the next step?
if I,
Go ahead.
so
Dina.
if I can, I'd like to make a motion, motion 7. I'd like to make a motion to table B2.
Second,
I guess that's an all in favor, Katie. All in favor, or roll call. Okay,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Passes.
so now we're voting on all of them because we just moved it, right? Okay, now we're just a regular roll call for personnel. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, Miss Kelly,
So
for
we do that
one
'cause we-
last time.
Need the
Okay, Miss
retirements.
Glonick, are you ready? Were you listening? You gave her all the credit last time for
All
this
right, we have
part,
over
so.
100 years of experience here. We have probably more than 150 years experience. Everyone here has more than double digits for their service in Hamilton. So we have Heidi Tillman, a Grace Middle School teacher of science, 17.5 years of service in Hamilton. Rita Walker from Hamilton West, special education teacher, will be retiring after 18 years of service. Brian Holtzbar, Alexander head custodian, will be retiring after 38 years of service in Hamilton. Robert Strickland from field maintenance, retiring after 21 years of service. Susan Johnston from Hamilton West, our secretary there, after 33 years of service in Hamilton. Barbara Nichols,
Be on the last one.
Hamilton North Secretary, level 2, after 17 years of service, and Cynthia Donnell, a Langtree Ed Assistant, after 21 years of service. So thank you, everyone, for your dedication to our students and all the support that you've offered them over the years.
And we promise somebody will take that role over. That I started and Miss Kelly took over, and we will continue. She's done a great job with that. She even added up the years. I didn't do that part. We do have to make one. Okay, we're gonna take the roll call for this. Does anybody have any questions on those?
I just want to make
HR?
to make one comment on HR. And I've done it last month and I don't know if anybody picked it up, but whenever we have these personnel items and there are no names, you're going to get a no from me, with the exception of those items that are going to be deemed private, like a HEPA report or something like that. And the reason I say that is because in previous months, I went back and looked at things and I'm not too happy with what skipped by me. And we won't even talk about it because it's over and done with. But I need to know, and I think the public needs to know who we're talking about. We can't put numbers up there. We just did it tonight on another item where you had names. Yeah, the one that you just, we just pulled out of item 7, I think it was. So I don't see any reason why we can't have names with, I mean, what's number, hold on one sec. These are leaves of absence. That's the item I'm talking about. You could probably figure out who they are. Okay, but why an ID number and not a name? We've done this for years. And I know this came up a few years ago, this started, but prior to that, there was always names in there, with the exception of when it would be. But
It's a confidentiality issue. I mean, I
What?
know we had brought that up last time you were on the board when we changed it over to IDs, but it is personal about some of the reasons why people are taking sick leave.
Well,
And-
that is what I'm getting at. Okay, if
Yeah.
it's got something to do with a HEPA violation, I agree with that.
Yeah.
So maybe they need to be separated, within the item.
And we can review that.
Yeah, well, and again, back a couple months ago or even last month, I have to go back and look at my notes. I know I had a lot of time there sitting home nursing the knee, so I had a lot of time to look at things. And, I noticed that there were things there that had nothing to do with HEPA. Okay, there was just no names.
It looks like, or at least this motion, everything for the reason code is confidential and falls under that exception. So I would just point that out.
Thank you, Mr. Salantano. Any other questions before we vote on these? Ms. Atwood?
Ms. Harvey,
Yes, except for I abstain from motion 5K10.
that, and what are you voting on that?
I abstain on
Oh, abstain. Item C.
Yes, and everything else.
Oh, can you repeat it? I'm sorry.
Sure, I'm sorry. 5K10.
Mr. Kanka,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Dr. McSheen,
Good even.
Yes, but abstain on 7A2.
7A2.
Correct.
Ms. Thornton,
Yes.
Mr. Salantano,
Yes, no on motion 8.
Dr. Farrar,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez, Mr. Gonzalez,
Yeah, I will also abstain on 7A2, but yes, otherwise.
Ms. Lombardo.
Yes.
Motion's passed.
Okay, we have to add one more thing before we move on. There was one left off of personnel.
Right. So the board members will recall, and I'm going to speak somewhat confidentially because we met in executive session last night regarding a grievance. Grievances are confidential, so I'm going to keep the members' names confidential still. We have a signed resolution agreement with the HTSSA on that resolves this grievance. It's actually a really good thing. It's not on the agenda. So what I'm asking is to have the board add it to the agenda tonight, approve the resolution, which I have and can share if the board members are interested to see, but it is 100% consistent with what we discussed, and HTSSA has signed and agreed to those terms. So this will end that grievance.
I adopt that motion.
Doesn't make sense.
I'll second it.
Second, please.
Made the motion? Who made the motion? Sorry. Oh. We know who made the motion.
Ms. Thornton, did you motion? Christine.
Yeah.
I was second.
Okay. And Miss Atwood, Dr. Patrick's gonna address something that with the last vote, because there was abstentions on something that we removed off the, okay,
Yeah,
but we're gonna do this
do
one
the vote.
first. Well, go ahead.
Did you call the motion? Sorry.
We have a motion and a second to add the motion you just read.
Right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained.
Abstain. This is added to the agenda. Now,
But I did.
be a motion to move that for passage.
I know what it is.
Second.
Christine, Ms. Harvey and Mr. Kanka, Mr. Salantano, second to move the motion.
Yes.
Read the motion.
Sure. The motion is to pass the resolution agreement with the HTSSA that resolves the grievance that we
discussed.
had in executive session last month.
And I brought you up to date, Mr. Kanka, you know what we're talking about.
Just a roll call.
Yes.
Ready? Ms. Harvey,
Yes.
Mr. Kanka,
Abstain.
Kelly,
Yes.
Dr. McSheen,
Yes.
Thornton,
Yes.
Mr. Salantano,
Yes.
Dr. Farrar,
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Lombardo.
Yes. Okay. Okay, next. I think we got them all now. Now we're moving on to other business. I have two things, but I'll let Ms. Kelly go first.
I just wanted to say, Want to do an official congratulations to Ms. Thornton and or Dr. McSheen for being reelected to the board, and congratulations to Ms. Byrne, because last month we still didn't know who our board members were going to be because of the election results. So congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Dr. McShane, did you have your hand up? Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Kanko.
I just want to thank Mrs. Kelly for her years of dedicated service. She was a very big asset on the negotiating committee, and I really appreciate that. She kept actually me and Patrick in line. But you're going to be missed. Your knowledge of the schools is something that we will have a big hole to fill on that committee. So I want to thank you, and good luck in whatever you do in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Kanka. It was a pleasure.
Truly,
Time on the
truly will be missed.
Just,
Okay.
can I just
Sure, Mr. Salantano.
wish my colleague the best? And we do have something in common. We both have properties in Wildwood. So I probably see her more down there than I will see her here.
You're lucky, you'll be neighbors still.
And good luck.
Ms. Thornton?
I also would like to wish Ms. Kelly the very best. We started together so many years ago. It's been an honor to work with you on the board, and not only call you my colleague as a board member, but also a friend, and I wish you all the best. So thank you for everything you've done.
Thanks.
And Pam, you know how I feel.
Thank you.
Our first little meeting at the coffee shop.
That's right.
I remember that. That was fun. Two things. One, I want to wish Miss Kelly a happy birthday, which is tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
I always remember because it's also my dad's birthday, so hope you have a great day and you won't have any meetings or anything tomorrow.
Thank you. Yeah,
But you're still on duty till December 31st.
right.
If anything happens, you're still gonna get the text messages. Miss Burns, your phone will start ringing on January 1st or 4th. And other business, we have January 4th, which is a Wednesday at 6:30 in the Nottingham Auditorium, will be our reorg meeting and our swearing in. That's gonna start at 6:30. We're starting a little bit later so that we can get some family members there that of the new board members and old board members are getting sworn in. So that's 6:30 at Nottingham High School Auditorium. Tentatively at Nottingham on January 25th at 5:30 will be our next board meeting. We're gonna try and make sure we get those announcements so that you'll know the month ahead what school will be at the next year. But so we're gonna go back to the auditorium setting, especially for the reorg meeting and swearing in. So that's at 6:30. And that there'll be no other business that night except for, you know, the few things that you have to do at reorg. It won't be a meeting like this, so definitely, if you want to be there, I'd suggest come at 6:30. It won't be like we're going into exec, so don't come late or you might miss the swearing in. I think I got everything that we were supposed to. We're good with that. Now, anybody else have anything for other business? Okay, we'll go to,
We have to look at the date of the January.
okay, we might have, the January date might adjust a little bit for the regular board meeting, but we'll make sure we announce it on the 4th to confirm or have it up on the website prior to the 4th if we can. Yep. Okay. And we'll confirm Nottingham's available, right?
Yes, right.
Okay.
I just sent that over.
Okay. And it's okay if we go in back to the auditoriums there, because I think it's better. Right. Okay, so first up, we have Kiernan Matz.
That thing is. There we go. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. That
Mr.
works.
Gonzalez and his Christmas spirit
Yes.
sweater.
I like it.
All right, thank you. My name is Kieran Matz. I'm here to speak on the issue of LGBTQ+ censorship in our schools and in our libraries. I attended Morgan Elementary School, Reynolds Middle School, and graduated from Steinert High School in 2012, ranked number 8 in my class. And I'm also a proud member of the LGBTQ+ community. Beginning at age 12, I started getting called gay and queer in a derogatory manner by classmates here in the school district before I even knew what those words meant. By age 13, I was called a slur for the first time in the middle of my English class. I can still tell you the name of the student who used the word, the teacher who let it slide, and the classmate who walked with me to tell the teacher when I was too scared and embarrassed to do it alone. As board members, principals, and even teachers, it's important for you to remember that you have a very surface level understanding of what happens in your students' lives. You don't hear the whispered conversations in the halls, on the bus, and on social media, which is why it's important for you to do everything in your power to make the school system a safe and accepting space for all students. I didn't come out until after I left this school district. It didn't feel like a safe place for me to explore my identity in that way. I don't think that this district is uneducated or filled with hate in any way, but attempting to remove books that allow students with queer identities to feel seen and also allow students who fit into the majority to expand their perspectives and practice empathy, you end up creating a culture of ignorance, which is a breeding ground for hate to grow. Our students deserve better than that. We as a community are better than some of the words and actions that have come out of this board in recent history, and I implore you to do better on behalf of the students and community you serve. I will use the rest of my time to read a statement from another Hamilton Township School District alumni, Margot Bergeron. My name is Margot Bergeron, and I graduated from Nottingham High School in 2014. I was an honor student involved in drama, drill team, tennis, and went on to one of the most prestigious colleges for musical theater in the country. I met some of my dearest friends through Nottingham and the other high schools in Hamilton, and we are all a part of the LGBTQ+ community. This is something that bonded all of us together, as well as our love for art and expression. The banning of an award-winning LGBTQ+ memoir from the library and it being labeled as pornography is one of the most incorrect, hateful, and ignorant things I have heard come out of this community, and it makes me furious for the future of education and for the children in our school district. To know that a school that helped me shape my own identity has allowed me to make friends with the first people who I felt truly understood and accepted me, loved me, is now telling students like me that their stories and their voices are not wanted and are too dangerous to be seen or read by others makes my blood boil. To ban a book is one of the most fearful and cowardly moves you can make, as it has long been associated with the suppressing of freedom and ideas and has nothing to do with the teaching or education of our students. Banning knowledge and stories is the opposite of education. If you truly feel that being part of the LGBTQ+ community is against your personal beliefs, you can explain that to your children in your own time, but you have no right to dictate to other families and children what is and is not appropriate for their children to be exposed to in regard to the LGBTQ+ community. My friend Arthur gave me the book Will Grayson by John Green when I was 14. This is one of the first novels I read where there was an LGBTQ+ character represented. I will always remember how happy I felt that I was finally reading a book where I was reminded of my gay friends while I was reading. To know that there was an author who somehow understood me and my friends and what we were going through, who had so much empathy and understanding for us, made me feel so much less lonely and made me excited to go off to college and into the world where I could find more people like me and my friends. Because every person, regardless of your personal beliefs about their lifestyle, is deserving of a loving community. I have always been an avid reader since the age of 7. It's been one of the best ways I've had to explore the world, people, and other perspectives without physically traveling. I beseech the board to center the education of our students with love and empathy instead of exclusion. Only through empathy, tolerance, and understanding can we create a better generation and a better world. And by trying to feed children the delusion that LGBTQ+ community, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Brenda Julian.
First, happy holidays. Happy third night of Hanukkah for those celebrating Christmas, Kwanzaa. Yule starts tonight for those celebrating Yule. I have a couple of things.
Talk a
First
little
off,
bit, Ms. Julian. Thank you. Can you just talk a little bit closer so we can hear you?
sorry.
Thank you.
Didn't want to be shouting.
That's okay.
First, as our board still sits before we have new members, and a reorg. I just want to make sure that everybody still remembers that this is a nonpartisan body. We did not vote on Republican and Democrat candidates. We didn't vote for religious or non-religious members. Your views and how you vote here is supposed to be for our students, our community, and our staff, regardless. And I just wanted to also highlight that at the last Board of Ed meeting, our new coming board member said that they wanted to have pronouns removed from our schools. I just last week had an issue with a teacher where one of my children go to school, where the teacher basically said something like that. It wasn't in our district. They go out of district. And I might sue them. So if you want pronouns out of schools, I'll sue you.
Direct your comments to
Yeah,
the chair.
Ms. Julian, you have to direct them to me.
And I would also like to know all the other books that Ms. Byrne had in her bag that she is planning on bringing to our board to ban, because I will go and buy as many copies as I can and donate them back to the school district. Second, on the idea of groomers and pedophiles. The previous board or the new board member and her group who came here with Father Stan and told us that our community was majority Catholic, and so that's what we should be teaching in our schools. If they think, if you have a child that's a part of the LGBTQ plus community, that I'm a groomer, I guess I'm a groomer. And I guess our teachers are groomers. I guess our teachers are pedophiles, because we have a lot of students in that identified community. And I'm just really concerned. And I don't know how this board is going to look, because I know there are people sitting on this board that also hold these views. So if we could make sure that we're voting for the community and not yourselves. Next, very quickly, I wanted to know the HIB and school climate report last month. Did that include in-school suspension?
Yes.
In-school suspension was,
Anything there includes anything that is a half-day suspension or more out of school.
so in-school suspension was not included on that.
Correct, but it's.
Okay, so every time my child was every time my child had somebody that had to have an in-school suspension is not on that report. So we have a lot of problems in that we are going to in-school suspension instead of an out-of-school suspension. And so we're not capturing that data in our school climate report when we're not including in-school suspensions. I had more to say, but I'm out of time. And unlike Ms. Breen, I understand 4 minutes.
Thank you. So just to be clear, again, no book has been banned from our shelves. Okay, we have not censored a book. We have not taken a book off the shelf. It's not, we're not gonna go, I don't want to go back and forth, but we explained that last month. And it's twice, two people, it's on your shelf. It's on the shelf as we speak. It's not censored though. It's there and it might never come off. So, okay, but it's there. We're not censoring a book. And the only reason it's under review is because somebody from the public challenged it. We did not do that. So it's a law. So we got to challenge the Department of Education for making us have that law, because we didn't create the law. We would have never investigated it if they didn't make us do it because of the law. So I appreciate what you said, but that wasn't directed to you, but I'm just saying, so far, 2 people mentioned the book being taken off and it's not there. It's not off. Katie Gaffney, I'm sorry, I destroyed your last name. Maybe over here is going to be a 4th one. It's going to tell us the book's off the shelf.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Gaffney. I'm speaking to you all as a Hamilton resident, as a Steinert class of 2012 graduate, as a healthcare professional, and as a member of the LGBTQ community. Last month, 22 statements in support of LGBTQ representation and inclusion were read aloud at this board's meeting. These statements were collected in response to public comment at this microphone over the past year opposing New Jersey's LGBT inclusive 2020 student learning standards and challenging 2 award-winning young adult books written by queer authors. At last month's meeting, the board and the superintendent announced that a committee would be formed to review any formal book challenges in accordance with district policy. Thank you for that update and for following the policy. Because at least one of the books in question is now undergoing a formal challenge and review by the committee, and because a new curriculum will be soon written and considered by the board to address the state's inclusive health education standards, and because our most vulnerable students are deserving of representation, affirmation, and love, several community members are here this evening to continue sharing words of support. I would like to use the rest of my time to read from statements from residents, students, alumni, and allies in support of queer representation in Hamilton schools. Megan M., a 2012 Steinert graduate, said, "As an avid reader and queer student of the Hamilton school system, all queer representation helped me feel like the world had space for me to grow up. Libraries are a space for everyone and all ideas." Eileen C., a 2006 Hamilton Township graduate, said, "I am a proud graduate of Nottingham, and the inclusiveness and availability of knowledge, especially via the libraries, was paramount to my experience." Sarah B., a Nottingham graduate, said, "As a member of the LGBTQ+ community, seeing my representation in books has been majorly impactful. It is where I can see myself and my experience reflected back to me. They are empowering and validating and allow me to see a reflection of myself that is not accessible in most, if not all, other media." An anonymous respondent said, "I'm an ally, but I firmly believe everyone should see themselves in books, and books are a great way to learn about others' experiences." Megan S., a graduate of Langtree and Reynolds, said, "Representation is vital in young adult literature, giving all readers a relatable protagonist. All students deserve that. I fully support our librarians and the content they make available to our students." Another respondent said, "I am a very proud mother of 2 gay sons, other LGBTQ family members, and numerous LGBTQ friends. I am very proud and happy to say that I wouldn't change any of this for anyone or anything. I need to know that my family and friends are loved, accepted, and safe. My children and grandchildren are just as important as anyone else's, and they should not be denied the right to be loved and accepted. People need to open their hearts and minds. When you do not accept this, you not only hurt and deny the LGBTQ person, but you also hurt and deny their families. The children that are in LGBTQ families need to know that they are okay, and that the children that are not in LGBTQ families need to understand and accept their friends and peers' family. This saves many sad, cruel, and possibly tragedies. Everyone needs to know that they are loved and accepted." I'm noticed that I'm running on time, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Janice Glonick.
I love these tall people. Okay, first of all, I'd like to tell Mrs. Kelly, I'm sorry to see you go. I really enjoyed you, especially your retirement reports, which I know you were groomed by someone else on this board on how to do
I'm
them.
just teasing.
But you did it with such elegance, and I enjoyed the totaling and everything, and I hope you passed on your expertise.
Already said they would do it.
Okay, so that retirements will continue to be presented with such elegance as you did it from your trainer. Okay. And then I'd also like to congratulate Mrs. Thornton and Dr. Machine for getting back on the board. So glad to have you back again. And keep up the good work you were doing. And I would like to wish everyone a most happy Hanukkah and a most Merry Christmas. Hope Santa treats you well. And hopefully 2023 will be a lot calmer than what the last 5 months have been in 2022. And just in case, may Santa leave you a case of wine under your tree in preparation, or something else stronger if you need it. Okay, but have a most happy holiday. And just on a side note, I agree with those people totally that there's no need to ban books in any kind of library, any place. If you don't want to read it, you don't read it. That solves the whole problem. It's there for whoever wants it.
Thank you. Happy holidays. Okay, we have Ian Callahan.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for the time tonight. My name is Ian Callahan. I am an alumnus of Steinert High School, 2010. Graduated 11th in my class. I'm currently pursuing my PhD in sociology at the University of Albany in upstate New York. And I'm here on behalf of what other folks have talked about tonight in support of LGBTQIA representation in our school libraries and curriculum. I'd like to take the rest of my time to elevate the voices of others who have submitted public comments in support of this. I will start with someone named Nicholas K., a Steinert 2014 graduate, who said that LGBTQ+ representation helped normalize having queer students at a time when it was not common. It helped me to explore my sexuality and identity without any prejudice. A 2012 Nottingham graduate said that LGBTQIA representation creates and supports a diverse community which is safe. I'm proud to have gone to schools in Hamilton simply for the fact that I felt like I was within a safe and openly diverse space. Race, ethnicities, sexual orientation, etc. We represent said diverse community. An anonymous respondent said, representation is extremely important for children to learn empathy for people different than themselves. Representation is even more important for LGBTQ+ kids to feel safe in the world. Joseph C., a Steinert 2016 graduate, said that as someone who identifies within the community, seeing representation while growing up helped me to realize that I was not alone in the world, that my feelings were valid, that I am valid. Deanna K. said, as a future teacher, I have seen firsthand the impact of diverse stories on our youth. These texts give students a wider perspective on the world and grow their critical thinking skills as they make sense of realities that may not be their own. LGBTQ+ people exist. That is a fact of life. LGBTQ+ students exist. Whether teachers know it or not, they are in every classroom. Today's youth need to know about their experiences, and we are doing them a disservice by denying that. We are not preparing them for the real world. Haley P. said, my heart is full of family and friends who are part of the LGBTQ+ community, and it's extremely important to show that there are other people like them. There's so much representation in books of people in different religions, race, sex, and to leave LGBTQ+ out of books would be volatile. Emma, a 2017 Steinert graduate, said, representation of all types of people in literature has been a good way for me as a student growing up to learn more about other people's experiences. This has increased my tolerance and understanding for those who differ from me. It has also been a great source of firsthand knowledge. Kids in Hamilton Township deserve to have access to books that make them feel seen and validated. There is no shame in being LGBTQ+, and adults need to stop trying to decide what materials students should and shouldn't have access to. The fact that the Steinert High School Library is named after Alito is also insensitive and demoralizing to the community. It continues to demonstrate the Hamilton Township educational leaders are nowhere near as progressive, inclusive, and tolerant as others in the state. I'll conclude with a comment that I submitted as a public comment. As a Hamilton alumnus and a queer scholar who studies coming out, for years now, I've read stories about disclosure and narratives about identity development, which research shows have proved to be integral to the safety, well-being, and livelihood of LGBTQIA+ people in our contemporary society. Representation matters because it reminds individuals that they are not alone in their journey. To ban books with LGBTQ+ themes is a disservice to positive identity development. We should encourage all of our librarians, educators, researchers, and keepers of knowledge to provide resources that speak to a diversity of lived experiences, to provide an education that is comprehensive, inclusive, and free of shame. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to the 20 minutes. If we want to continue, I'll need a motion for an extension of 12 minutes for the 3 remaining people to speak for 4 minutes each.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Passes.
Now see how smooth that one went. Mrs. Lankowski, you're up. Because we only have 9, we were able to get them all in.
Good evening, everyone. And I'm here as a representative of the HTCSE community. And I have a few things that I wanted to chat about. The first one is that there were pictures posted recently of the Hamilton High West swim team over at Steiner. And it came to my attention that they have to practice over at Steiner because the pool over at Hamilton High West has not been functioning for, I think, 3 years. And I was just wondering if that's going to be addressed or has that been addressed and I've just missed it? And what the ETA is for getting that pool back up and running for the kids so that they can practice at their own school. So that was my first comment. My second one
Real
was
quick,
that
I think just because this is an ongoing thing with the pools, I think every school has bopped around because there's always an issue at one pool or another. So Hamilton West is out, then Nottingham's is out, then Steiner's is out. So it's happened for years. The pools are one of our biggest issues. Yeah.
Okay.
So
all
that's
right.
why you saw that.
Terrific. Thank you. Sorry.
No,
to
we're
hear
not
that, though.
supposed to go back and forth, but the pool issues come up a lot. And just to explain, that's
Okay.
been a big problem.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're at Nottingham too. I think it depends on what school is, the pool's heated the best is where the kids want to go.
Where they are. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good to know. The second point I wanted to make is that the kids that have been selected to be the representations from the high school that are typically here each month, I've noticed that they say what's going on in their school and then they exit stage left. And I'm just curious about that. And I'm wondering, I know it's a long meeting, but I really think it would be impactful for them to stay for as long as they possibly can instead of being escorted out so that they can actually hear and see what's happening within the whole, what happens here and to hear the public comment and to not have them hear or see what's going on, I think is a big disservice because then they could go back and talk about what they're hearing and what they're saying. So just wanted to comment on that. I also wanted to ask if the report that Mr. Scotto posted today, if that's going to be posted online. Excellent, I figured. And then lastly, I wanted to mention about the AP scores. My daughter, who's with me tonight, she went to school out of district and she went to Allentown High School for their choice program. And when we went for the freshman, when we went to go visit the school, when she was considering the schools, her eye was caught to a wall that was filled with pictures of AP students that got either a 4 or 5 on the wall. And she turned to me and said, my picture is going to be up on that wall. And it is. And it was on for a second year because she got a 5 her senior year. So it's there right now. But the point that I want to make on this is it's something to consider for our schools to have an area of designation to put that 13% that received a 4 or higher, or the 7% that received a 5 or higher up on the wall. And then other kids see that, and then they too want to see themselves up on that wall. I know we're doing a great job with getting the AP scores, going. And this might be something that could be, a little bit of not a competitive, but like for my daughter, it was just like, I'm going to be on that wall. So I just wanted to bring that as a suggestion for our school district as well. Miss Kelly, all the best to you. Thank you for everything that you've done over the past many years and wish you great success in the rest of everything else that you're doing. And I just wanted to wish all of the board a happy, healthy, everything, merry everything, and Cheers to a much calmer 2023. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gatto?
First of all, I have a new grandson that's 7 months old. He's keeping me moving, so you can see how I'm moving right now. But anyway,
I hear you.
37 years of coaching has shown up. Mr. Kelly, thank you for your service. I appreciate that, and happy holidays, everybody. I think, I have a very unique position being president of the HTEA. By the way, I clocked it tonight. I'm missing that wonderful gal with the parents and everything. The Chicken McNuggets and all. They're doing something with education over there, which we sponsor, and we're glad to do that. I have total confidence, and many of my colleagues have confidence in the board and administration that they will make good decisions about the help of phys ed. Why am I unique? Because I've coached some of your kids, I've taught some of your kids, and I've been counselors to some of your kids. So, I know how important your kids are to you. So I have total confidence in you. And most people the public do not know that. I probably should have said that 3 months ago, but you said it.
Never too late.
I think the thing that concerns me the most, I had a call from one of my former students last week, and a former player who's a young teacher teaching history. He said, "Coach, I know you taught history, and I know you were a counselor for 32 years, and I'm old, obviously." But he says to me, how do I teach this subject? I remember having you in class, and when you talked about slavery, you talked about Kenneth Stamp, who wrote a book about antebellum South. And most people don't realize that one of the reasons why Baptist church is very strong in the South, because what happened was the slaves were not allowed by the law to learn how to read. Many of them would read the Bible. What happened to Japanese Americans? My father fought in World War II. My big thing is, as I said to him, I said, teach the truth. Now, unfortunately, I mean, you guys watch TV, you do all, you understand that I see censorship, and that concerns me with that young man. I told him, teach the truth, within the curriculum, Mr. Scott. Oh, I know you're back there. But teach the curriculum and teach them critical thinking skills. That's my big concern about this. Is when you're looking at books, which I know you'll do a good job, censorship is an issue. Think about it. How are people going to teach January 6th? Think about that. That wasn't a hoax. That happened. I was one of the things I told the young man. I said, teach the kids about how fragile, how important democracy is, how close we almost came of losing it. I don't care. It's not a party issue, although some people want to make it that way. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention and be careful. I know you're very vigilant, but censorship concerns me. I've been in education for 42 years. I'm not like what I'm seeing. We have governors throughout the country practicing without a license. I won't mention their names, they're obvious. But I think that's in it. Look at this is December 21st, 4 days from now. Why is it called Hamilton Township? We all know Alexander Hamilton. All right. 4 days from now, you're going to see a reenactment. How many people go to a reenactment? I'm probably one of those few crazy people. Washington Cross of Delaware. Why is that important? Well, I'll tell you why it's important, because without what happened in Trenton, we don't have a country. And I think we've lost that. And this started back in my career in the early 80s when we said the only thing that matters is English and math. Civics, I'm old school. Civics and learning how the government works matters. That old line, history repeats itself. It's true. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, and I wish everybody a happy holiday. And that's why I believe in open line of communications. There's nobody here I don't talk to all the time, and sometimes I disagree with what happens, but we do it professionally. That's the only thing. When I'm a little bit alarmed because I saw a couple of people say some negative things about the school board president, and I probably shouldn't say this. I know her daughter, she's a wonderful young lady, because I was coaching football over at Nottingham, and she did extra things for kids. She would be mad at me now talking about her, but I'm going to tell you right now. And now I'm proud to know that she's a wonderful nurse. So, Yeah, I know. This community does a lot of great things. So just last point is this: beware of censorship. Beware. There's a reason why they didn't want the slaves to know how to read. They didn't want them to know what was happening. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gatto. Chanel Vickers Ames.
Hello, happy holidays. So I don't know where I want to start. Well, I guess I'll just start with, we have other items that we need to focus on, and we need to leave the parenting to the parents. We need to focus on trying to find ways to bring sports back to our middle school students, because that would be a good idea. I don't know. I like that we tried the track thing, but the first year it worked. The second year I noticed we had less participants. So let's try to figure out something else. Let's bring it back. Let's find something else other than track. These kids need activities. Let's keep them off the streets, get them back into the school activities. Let's find ways to prepare our middle school kids for high school and our elementary kids for middle school. I know my son, he was the 5th grade year that got skipped because of COVID, and he didn't know what to expect when he got into middle school, and he didn't know how to switch class. And it was messed up. I mean, to walk into middle school and not know how to actually walk the hallways. They had orientation, but that wasn't enough. So we need to focus on better things than book removal. That's all I need to say about that. My other concern would be, we have a high volume of students in our high schools. So I've noticed being at West that during the school day, they have limited access to bathrooms. Why? My daughter walks home. She runs in the door and has to go to the bathroom because she doesn't have time to use it during the day. Some teachers are not giving them access to the bathrooms during the day. This is a problem. I don't think you guys want a bill, because I would be the parent to submit a bill to the school board for a doctor with a UTI or anything like that. So we need to fix that. I don't understand why certain bathrooms are locked all day long, and then some teachers are not allowing them to use it. To my understanding, West is not the only high school that is locking bathrooms. So I don't want to have to do my research and then come back up here. And then it was also brought to my attention that our elementary students, pre-K, kindergarten, first graders, they're purchasing breakfast and lunch and then throwing it in the garbage. We just got notification of extremely high bills. I know we have a problem with parents not keeping up with their lunch bills, but this would probably be why, because they don't know their kids are buying food and throwing it in the garbage. I had one parent approach me and tell me that she was informed by Before Care that her child is purchasing breakfast and throwing it in the trash because it's cold, but it's supposed to be a hot breakfast. So we might need to look into that. And that might be the underlying problem to why we have such an extremely high breakfast and lunch bill from a lot of parents, because they don't even know that their kids are even purchasing anything. So that was just some concerns that came across me as an ex-PTA president, and parents feel comfortable talking to me and ask me to come to the board meeting and bring it to your attention. So maybe we should look into some of these concerns from other parents. Thank you. Enjoy your holiday.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Ms. Lankowski, for that idea. I think it was great. And I happen to have known your daughter when she was way shorter than me, and now she's looks very tall. But congratulations to making that wall. And I think that was a great idea. So I would wish everybody a happy holiday, whatever holiday that is that you celebrate. And we'll see you all on January 4th.
Motion
4th
to
at
adjourn.
6:30.
Second.
Motion to adjourn.
Aye.
I was getting there. Thank you, Dr. Farrar.